Welcome to I Had No Idea. Safe and healthy use for technology for our kids. There's one kid that benefits from this, if there's one family that benefits from something that we talk about, then the whole thing's worth it. Welcome to I Had No Idea podcast, where we are diving into the world of technology and how it influences our kids and how our kids are using it as they're growing up. We want them to grow up healthy. We want them to grow up using their technology. We know that they're going to use their technology. This is a podcast with the angle of how we can help them do that safely and how we can be as informed as possible, because believe me, if you talk to a teen or you start doing some online exploring, you, like I, will probably be saying, I had no idea that was out there. Today, we're going to be talking about when kids become the content, or what kinds of content kids may be accessing online. And I'm going to tell you right now that I will not have enough time to cover all of it. I'm going to share the few things that I've been learning and studying about some of the content that kids are accessing online, maybe some resources that we can point to. We have most of them housed on I Had No Idea, ce.com. So we can be up to date as much as we can, because there's new stuff coming out daily for helping kids be safe. So there's a couple of different ways to address this. And the first way I'm going to start off is kind of introducing some vocabulary words. I'm learning vocabulary words daily about online safety in this space. And the kids will come up with things as fast as we learn it. But here are some that we as adults might want to be aware of when we can recognize it. The first one is self-generated imagery for child sexual abuse material. Now, the child pornography and child sexual abuse are kind of melding into one category there, although some of them are images alone. And then, of course, sexual abuse material is interactive to a very negative degree. So self-generated may mean that minors are photographing or filming themselves and may be sharing with a romantic partner, or they may be sharing it and then that person shares with others. So the SGCSAM, self-generated child sexual abuse material, if you hear that, then SGCSAM is what they're talking about. That's the first one. Then non-consensual resharing is what happens when someone believes that they are sending an image privately or to one person, and that is redistributed without their consent. One of the tools I use in my presentations, both with parents and with students, primarily teens, is one called Your Photo Fate, F-A-T-E, Your Fate, Your Photo Fate. You can look at that on I Had No Idea. You can Google it yourself to watch. It just goes through a very short video about some of the implications for taking images and you thinking that it's going to one person, and it really doesn't. And bless their hearts, it's the naivety of being young and wanting to trust who you send something to, when we all know in the reality that those images get shared around very much. If you haven't heard of the term deep fake, a deep fake is something that is obviously, it's not real, but with AI now, it can be so convincing that it may look real. Or it's an opportunity to, quote unquote, nudify, using my little parentheses fingers, nudify content, where AI could be used to sexualize an image of a real minor, or may take a part, maybe it's a facial photo, and then position that on an AI image that is inappropriate. The next is sextortion. I may have hit on this in a prior podcast, and we may do a separate, complete sextortion podcast, because the phenomenon is unfortunately growing. And that is where someone dupes, or I use the term trapdoor, they trapdoor a kiddo into sending an image that is identifiable of them, their own image. And then they hold them hostage by saying, if you don't do XYZ, or if you don't send me more content, if you don't pay this amount of money, then this image is going to be shared with many people, obviously trapping the youth into a horrible situation. This can often be done by organized criminal actors. It could be done by just singular individuals who may be posing as peers. So sextortion is one. And then the last one on our vocabulary list today is commodified exploitation. And that's when minors are paid or given gifts in exchange for imagery or live stream content, sometimes through intermediaries. And those are some of the things that are the trapdoor concepts I talk about. And I'm going to lead into a different branch of inappropriate content for just a moment, and then maybe circle back to the actual content that a youth may generate. Because where some of these things may start is exposure. And when we talk about exposure, we talk about some of the hot things that the kids are watching, they're streaming, or they're finding online right now. And back in the old day, all of the entertainment that came through my house was on my TV. And it was usually one of those great big back TVs, the big, bold, old school TV, and everybody sat around the living room and they watched it. And it really is a hard concept for some of us to understand that if the screen is anywhere else in this day and age, the same quote unquote, the TV show we're thinking we're watching is available everywhere else. A person obviously can sit down and watch an entire movie, show, or stream or YouTube video just on their phone or on the tablet or on the laptop. It can be the exact same thing, but it's available everywhere. And I don't think we talk about that because I think in my mind, if we're watching it on TV, it's the only place to see that video. And that's not the case, okay? So that's the first myth we've got to dispel about this. The next is that there are some things that have been released a little while ago. We're going to talk about one that was released about 2019 and some that are released in highly sought after content on live streaming anyway, by youth that can be influential to them that may be seen as inappropriate content. The one that comes to mind for me when I first started doing a little bit of research on youth and what they're seeing and what content is one called Euphoria, if you've not heard of it. It's an HBO series. It was very engaging, very popular, started in 2019, still going on right now. And there's a lot of very complex teenage things that are happening. And I look at this from two lenses. One, and some of the teens will tell you, I saw this series and it reminded me a lot of the things I'm going through, and it helps me to feel that I connected with a character there because they're going through it too. The other lens is some of the things that they were doing in those series could be very suggestive for youth who may not have gone through it. There's self-harm. There's a lot about sexual identity exploration. There's a lot about drug use. There's a lot of very graphic sex scenes, sometimes between youth and adults, sometimes between youth and youth. It gets pretty deep. And one of the tools I'm going to introduce to you, if you have not already used it, is in our I Had No Idea website for Common Sense Media. I'm trying to think of which one of my portals I might have put that under. It might be Learning Tech Together. It might be for cell phone. It might be in a couple places. Common Sense Media is a great measuring stick. And here's why. If you hear your kiddo talk about a new cool series that they're watching, you can, as I would suggest, ask them to tell you more about it. Do so in a curious manner. Don't automatically bring down the hammer on it or tell them you automatically can't watch it, at least before you do some homework on it. If they tell you I'm watching this series, run over to I Had No Idea, or run over to Common Sense Media and pull up Common Sense. You can put in a Google window, Common Sense Media on Euphoria, and it'll give you a rating, especially an age rating that they recommend that your youth or young person needs to be in order to digest what that content is. So on something like Euphoria, seasons 1 and 2, because it's still going on, the content rating is 18 plus, all right? 18 plus for Euphoria. They'll break it down into categories for violence and scariness, sex, romance, and nudity, drinking, drugs, and smoking, language, and they'll even tell you about positive content. It'll say diverse representations, absolutely there. Positive messaging, it may be a little bit low, or positive role models might be a little bit low, but it gives you some scalability for understanding it if you're not able or willing to watch some of it on your own. Sometimes what parents will do, and sometimes for research, I will tell you, and I have viewed sessions from Euphoria, and I did this because when the series 13 Reasons Why came out on Netflix several years ago, I think 2016 or 17 maybe. High content for Actually, there was sexual abuse scenes that happened. There was a very graphic suicide scene in 13 Reasons Why. And we saw an uptick in the nation of suicidal attempts and loss of life to suicide after some teens viewed the series. And I did so and watched it out of research. Actually engaged with my own kids, engaged with my niece and said, I want to know if this is something that you've watched, because I know the content is very graphic and very scary, and I prefer that you not watch that, or that we talk about it or even watch it together, which is even harder because there's a lot of teen scenes in that. But I feel like that kicked off this whole teen content, how to identify with someone who's going through you're going through, but it also brought along that feature of some suggestibility. And the suggestibility was a little bit dangerous, because if kids hadn't thought about doing some of these things, some of them were willing to do so to identify with the character. So it's very chicken and egg and complex when we talk about this. Another one that is new that I'm going to use I'm going to put it up against Common Sense Media's measuring stick is adolescence. Let's talk about adolescence. When I put it into Common Sense Media, they came up with an age range of 15 plus. Now, I have not seen this myself yet, but some folks say that it has some things that can be beneficial. The positive messaging, a little bit higher rating than Euphoria. Positive role models, a little bit higher than Euphoria. Diverse representation. But it still has profanity, still has some violence and scariness. And then there's 2 marks there for sexual nudity. So 15 plus is what adolescence on Netflix has a rating for right now. So if you hear your teen talking about that, maybe it's a good idea to ask them, have you seen adolescence? Or talk to me about what you've witnessed and seen in that. When you hear them share it with you, depending on their lens, you as a parent may be able to determine, are they watching this and realizing that it's for entertainment purposes? It's not something that I feel like my teen is embodying as harmful. I feel okay with trusting them with their autonomy for viewing the content. But if they start having language that talks about, there was a character in there, they were really beat up and beat down, I feel like that, or they were saying there's a character in there who's thought about self-harm, sometimes I think about it, that's when we want to extend that conversation more, and especially make sure that our teens are safe in viewing what this content is. And I'm not going to tell you every single teen is the exact same for what they're viewing in their content online. They're not. And I want to get away from just that hammer, response, that knee-jerk response of I'm going to cut all the technology out, I'm going to cut all this business out. That's not going to help you and your teen. Because here's what I'm going to tell you is if that happens, many times the next maneuver is how do I get it on a different device that mom or dad doesn't know about. It only makes them want it more. So therapeutically, we're trying to help our teens have safe habits while they're exposed to these things in the world, so they have good skills and know this is what you've seen, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a reality, or that you don't have someone to go to if you feel this way, or if something is impacting like this. So use some skills when we're considering what our teens are exposed to online and in their streaming. This other one, this is kind of goofy, but it's saying that this is what teens are watching, is Riverdale. It doesn't have really high marks anymore or something, because I think it's just bad story writing. But if you pull up Common Sense Media and put in Riverdale, you're going to see that it's got a 2-star rating, so it's not real high. The age of 14. And it says that dark, dramatic take on Archie comics is campy fun. That's the one line view on that. There are some positive messages, there are some positive role models, some diverse representation. There's some violence and scariness. There were 4 marks on that, 4 marks for drinking, drugs, and smoking, 3 marks for sex and nudity, and then 2 for language. So you see just by this conversation, if you're talking to your young person, your teen in your life, your young person, and they're online, or you're walking by and you're like, hey, what are you watching? What's going on? And they go, oh yeah, I'm watching Riverdale. Take a minute to ask them, what do you think of that? What is it about? Give me just a second. I mean, is it cool? Is it bad? Is it something? And be able to have a conversation with them about their content. This lets you get a little bit into their world. It helps you, even if it seems silly or weird, or you're thinking, there's no way I want to watch that. It sounds totally boring, really dumb. On any content. But if nothing else, you're getting their perspective. You're getting them to talk to you about what they're doing. You can use that tactic with everything from gaming to what kind of YouTube videos are you watching. And trust me, they're watching YouTube videos. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it helps you connect to your youth and have a better understanding to frame what their technology use is like in a healthy way. Instead of saying no and stop that, or walking straight by them, they're glued to their screen and we don't even know what's on that. And they may be irritated at first. They're like, why is she asking me all these questions? Why does she care what I'm watching? And you can say, I've heard that I heard this was popular right now, and I may want to watch something you're watching myself, which they're going to go, gross, yuck, I don't want you watching this. But sometimes we have to get into their world by being exposed to that, so we become the experts a little on what's going on. So I want to start off by going down that side of content because it helps us know what's popular. There may be more things. You can pull up an AI, Gemini, or a Claude, or a Google window. You can throw in there, hey, what are teens watching right now? And you can get some of the lowdown on the traffic for what was new and what teens are engaged in. So that's a content-specific piece that we want to pay attention to. And the other part is YouTube. YouTube is saying and gave a lot of good recommendations earlier for the GRWM, get ready with me. Okay, if you haven't heard your kids say, get ready with me, or they're doing a video and putting their makeup on and you're going, why are they doing this? That is one of the cool things that especially young girls want to do. They're discussing their makeup, they're discussing tips, what things are cool right now, what not to buy. You've got these influencers and content creators. And it has kind of the content creation, the influencer conversation is worth having with your teen as well. Because when we canvass teen audiences and we talk to educators in schools and we ask about what do you want to be when you grow up, 99% of them say, I want to be an influencer. Okay, if you've not heard that term. So an influencer is someone who has a high follow count. I'm talking millions, high follow count, and millions of views, usually for videos, whether it's on TikTok, it's on Reddit, WhatsApp, any of the YouTube itself, because YouTube is still number one for that content. They say that's what they want to do. It's not easy to do that. It's a lot harder than they may realize, and it doesn't always yield a lot of money for that. So that is one of the things that they're watching right now. There's also the lock-in. This is the hey, lock in with me on this. It's a way of saying, hey, let's all pay attention to this. Let's all focus on this kind of content or what we're doing here. And when that's introduced or a hashtag for that, creators will comment for goals that are, really difficult, but it's a challenge for them. It may be they want to run a marathon. They may want to learn how to, I'm going to lock in and learn how to make sourdough bread. I'm going to lock in and learn how to do pet grooming or something that's really, it's not a harmful thing, or it might be a neat habit or a hobby they want to do. And when they're saying I'm locking into it, they're saying I'm really trying to focus on it. And then they may ask to have an accountability try. That's a way to hook in more people to pay attention to their content when they're doing that. It's shifted away from kind of romanticized perfection, but maybe it's the messy, relatable side of, I want to be on this goal. I want to try to be more accountable for my diet or for my mental health. I need your help. Everybody come in on a community and help me with that. So if you hear lock in or get ready with me, or right now, pure visuals may not be a focus as much as audio sensory experiences. So ASMR is what people are doing. They're putting out these highly kind of tactile. They're maybe it's a task that people are doing that they want other people to pay attention to. They're rug clean. I saw a video on someone who was deep cleaning a very dirty rug, and they were using a power washer to do it, and millions of people were following it because it was so satisfying. That's another term. We're satisfying to watch them clean this rug. All right, and you find yourself sitting there, and you're like, really? I'm watching with another million people, and all this person's doing is showing a picture of a dirty rug that they are cleaning. They go over with the soap and they go back over. They missed a spot. Everybody freaks out. They have to go back. This is the kind of thing that is finding popularity. They also do physical sounds like tapping, crinkles, scratches on a really high-powered microphone for ASMR. And you may have different reactions to that. Sometimes it's very, very calming, especially if they do it well and it's not overly done. It can be a calming, almost a dopamine wavelength in your head way of calming down. So we know there's a lot of ADHD tendencies with so much to pay attention to online. ASMR is kind of a way of people trying to bring that back down, try to dial that back down. So those are content creating things. There's also curiosity detours or video essays. There was one young creator that I listened to. This is hilarious. And I told her, I even commented, I was like, this has to be a Netflix series. She went through a whole process of a really good friend at work who was being set up to be fired. And she literally narrated it in a drama type, here is the next thing that happened. And she did it all from her car. I mean, we never got to meet the friend, we never got to do, but she was so engaging as a storyteller. We were all locked in, so to speak. We were all engaged in it, like, what's gonna happen next? We gotta know about this. So that kind of storytelling capability, you just never know who's gonna be doing this. One of the content creators that I've actually followed for those who are in my age range, Gen Xers, is Just Being Melanie, who does the We Do Not Care Club. This is for you parents, okay? Because she is precious. Go find Just Being Melanie. You can put her in a Google window. You're going to come up with her Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. And watch some of the content with Just Being Melanie. She's amazing, and it just makes you feel better about the things in your life you've got to let go of because you just simply cannot afford to pay attention or care about them. Just Being Melanie. And here's another thing on the side of that. How many of you, show of hands, where you're listening to this podcast, have a Facebook account, us old people, and you're watching Facebook Reels? You go in and you can watch videos on Facebook. And if you think you're just watching something that's only on Facebook, I'm here as your tech fairy godmother to tell you, you are watching things that have been shared on multiple platforms. Those little video vignettes many times start off on TikTok. So you are watching TikToks that have been adjusted to be shown on Facebook, that can be adjusted to be shown on Instagram, can be adjusted to be shown on other apps, and it's the same video. So when I talk about platforms not being all good or bad, if you follow Babs is a sweet old northern lady who I absolutely adore, who tells you tips and tricks and hacks and how to set up for a nice Sunday brunch, okay? And she has the videos, and it's on TikTok, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram. Same video, different platforms. So don't necessarily say this platform is bad or horrible. The very video you could be watching on Facebook could have been generated on a totally different platform, and it tagged all the others to be shown on. So be aware of that as we're using our content. And even if you're a content user yourself, talk to your kids and tell them, I have found the cutest person I follow on my social media. Sometimes it's someone who helps you with some spiritual guidance. They may be sharing a scripture you like, or a recipe you like, or that tip or trick or hack, or they're saying something that speaks to you that you can identify with at a time in your life when it makes you feel better. Because really that's what we want to use technology for, don't we? And then there's the last that I'll go over for today, perspective shifting POVs, point of view, versus or with workplace humor. We work hard. We have parenting lives. We have our hobby lives that we do. When you can connect to someone who can identify something that everyone waiting in line to get into a movie or talking about your favorite thing at the grocery store that you found, and all of a sudden next time you go, you can't find it at all because everybody saw you pick it up and now they're all on it and it makes you mad. A lot of people are finding content that has not necessarily harmful, but just identifiable, relatable content. And like, oh my gosh, I've been that person who was trying to play a game with my kid, and we were shooting Nerf guns and they shot me straight in the face, and then the suction cup stuck to my head. I just pulled that out, but it could be you. So as we talk about content for kids, we want to be very aware of both the good, the bad, the ugly, the questionable, the silly, the fun. It's not all terrible. Kids want me to tell you that, y'all. It's not all terrible, but we do want to be aware of what is out there and engage our kids to talk about it. Be sure you're talking to kids about their content and what they're seeing. And thank you for joining us for I Had No Idea podcast. We'll see you next time.